All right, let's just get right into this explainer. Today we're opening up a forensic audit of Cold War intelligence files that honestly read less like history and more like a late-night science fiction broadcast. We are diving into the chilling, methodical reality of the CIA's Psychic Warfare Division, a heavily classified coordinate, and a discovery that fundamentally alters the entire narrative of human history. So, here is the central mystery we're unpacking today. What exactly did the CIA's top psychic see deep inside an Alaskan mountain that literally cost him his life? To figure that out, we have to look at the tragic, honestly terrifying intersection of human consciousness, Cold War paranoia, and a discovery that the intelligence community allegedly went to lethal lengths to keep buried.
And just to be clear, we are conducting a dark, uncompromising audit of the actual bureaucratic files surrounding these events. We aren't dealing in internet rumors here. We're tracing the real paper trail of defense initiatives, unredacted debriefing transcripts, and highly classified intelligence programs straight from the 1970s.
Now, before the CIA mapped the acoustic generators at the Giza Plateau, there was an earlier 1973 program called Project SCANATE, which stands for Scanning by Coordinate. Directed by laser physicist Dr. Harold E. Puthoff at the Stanford Research Institute, the military essentially needed to know if an operative could use quantum non-locality. That's basically the idea that particles can instantaneously connect across space. They wanted to know if this could be used to bypass physical and electromagnetic shielding to retrieve actionable intelligence. The viewer was given nothing but latitude and longitude integers, completely blind.
And this brings us to our main guy, Pat Price. Now, Price wasn't just some random recruit. He was a former Burbank police commissioner and an extraordinarily gifted remote viewer. He was literally the apex operative of Project SCANATE. The CIA's ultimate goal was to deploy Price's unique abilities against the KGB to spy on Soviet nuclear facilities. But before they sent his mind across the Iron Curtain, they needed a calibration test. They needed to see just how incredibly accurate he really was.
13,832 feet. To put that into perspective, that's way up there. In 1973, Dr. Puthoff handed Pat Price a completely blind coordinate, nothing else. Price projected his consciousness across the space-time metric and arrived exactly at this elevation, the absolute peak of Mount Hayes, the highest mountain in the eastern Alaska Range.
Okay, so the CIA fully expected Price to just find an empty mountain, or maybe a hidden Soviet bunker, but instead, the unredacted debriefing transcripts detail something wild. Price breached a terrestrial quarantine, discovering a massive, shielded, deep underground extraterrestrial base. Actually, scratch that. He didn't find Russian assets at all. He found something else entirely.
And the details he gave, absolutely mind-blowing but incredibly specific. He wasn't describing some vague, mystical cave. He methodically reported a highly technological command center inside the granitic bedrock, operated by non-human entities. He described advanced computer consoles, oscillating frequency generators, and massive solid-state machinery. But the most alarming part? He noted that this facility was a telemetry node operating a deep space satellite network designed to actively monitor and track the surface population. And it was shielded from military radar using advanced electromagnetic dampening that utilized the mountain's natural dielectric properties, meaning the stone itself helped hide the signals.
So, what does this all mean? Well, according to the source material, the implications of Pat Price's 1973 discovery were mathematically and existentially devastating. It suggested a terrifying new paradigm for every single person on Earth. We were not the apex predator on this planet. We were the monitored livestock. Just let that sink in for a second.
Obviously, the CIA and the Defense Intelligence Agency quickly realized Mount Hayes was not an isolated anomaly. The sheer scale of what they were facing required immediate, totally covert action. So, they initiated a highly classified, off-the-books sub-program designated as Project 8200. This was run by Captain F. Holmes Skip Atwater, an intelligence officer within the U.S. Army Intelligence and Security Command.
Project 8200 systematically deployed Stargate remote viewers. And get this, what they found corroborated Price's data perfectly. They mapped a globally connected, Archonic grid of identical deep underground command bases. Mount Hayes was a primary node, sure, but it actively linked to matching subterranean facilities buried beneath Mount Perdido in Spain, Mount Inyangani in Zimbabwe, and Mount Zeal in Australia. It's like a giant puzzle spanning the globe.
Now, you might be thinking, how on earth do you communicate through thousands of miles of solid rock? Well, the answer is extremely low frequency, or ELF waves, Operating between 3 and 30 Hz, ELF waves effortlessly penetrate granitic bedrock, totally unlike high-frequency military radar that just bounces right off the surface. This allows these subterranean nodes to synchronize their telemetry seamlessly across the entire planet.
Let's look at this timeline, because things escalate incredibly fast, and fatally. In 1973, Project SCANATE tests Mount Hayes, and the node is discovered. But then the narrative takes a really dark turn. In July 1975, the man who first pierced the veil, Pat Price, unexpectedly dies. And just 2 months later, in September 1975, the Senate Church Committee exposes the CIA's covert biological weapons arsenal. Believe me, these events are deeply connected.
The sources suggest a silencing protocol was activated to maintain the absolute secrecy of this network. In July 1975, just 2 years after mapping that Alaskan command node, Pat Price died under highly anomalous circumstances. He was alone in a Las Vegas hotel room when he suffered a sudden, fatal heart attack. And here's the crazy part. His medical records completely vanished and absolutely no autopsy was performed. None.
Price's death didn't just look kind of suspicious. It precisely matched the forensic signature of a known, state-sponsored assassination tool. During those 1975 Church Committee hearings, CIA Director William Colby was literally forced to display an actual physical weapon engineered under Project MK Naomi at Fort Detrick. It was the infamous heart attack gun.
Let's break down how this actually works, because it is terrifyingly efficient. The weapon was a heavily modified Colt M1911 that used a near-silent electrical firing mechanism. It fired a microscopic, needle-like frozen dart loaded with saxotoxin, which, by the way, is a seriously potent shellfish neurotoxin. The dart melted instantly upon entering the bloodstream, inducing a massive, biologically untraceable heart attack. A coroner would find no bullet, no exit wound, just a perfectly natural cardiac failure and a microscopic red dot mimicking a simple insect bite. It was the ultimate tool for plausible deniability, and the exact signature of Pat Price's sudden demise. Okay, so the intelligence apparatus silenced Pat Price, but they couldn't exactly unlearn what he found, right? They needed a way to monitor the Mount Hayes node. According to the source text, their solution is locked right there in the public record under U.S. Patent 4686605A. They built HAARP in Gakona, Alaska. While it's publicly known for studying the ionosphere, the source texts assert it actually acts as a massive plasma mirror, bouncing weaponized ELF waves deep into the Earth's crust to map and monitor subterranean anomalies just like Mount Hayes. Which leaves us with a pretty profound question. If these source documents are to be believed, and the intelligence community truly mapped an occupied, non-human global grid way back in 1973, silencing the very men who found it, what else lies buried deep beneath our feet, just waiting for us to wake up and look? Thanks for watching this explainer. Keep questioning the ground you walk on.